It's like I'm home, but I'm not. Ciao a tutti, benvenuti sul mio canale. Hey everyone, welcome to my channel, US edition. So as you can probably see in today's video, I am not in Rome, but I am in fact in Connecticut. I'm here at my parents' house and I just came for the holidays. So I figure, as long as I'm in an American home, let's compare American homes and Italian homes. That's our topic for today. Sorry for my voice, I've got a bit of a cold, but the videos must go on. Alright, so the first one that I want to talk about is wall-to-wall carpeting, which is much more prevalent here in the United States. And by the way, in Italian, this is called la moquette. You may be wondering, David, is this something that you actually miss from the United States? No, I don't actually. Not to knock it completely, I do see the benefit and the appeal of wall-to-wall carpeting. And that can be seen now in the winter months, the cold months. It is a nice feeling to walk barefoot and to feel warm carpeting underneath your feet, especially when it's freezing outside. I, however, look at it more from a cleanliness point of view. What do I mean? Well, too often in the United States, I see people coming from the outside, they walk on the carpet, and then they take their shoes off and then just walk in the same place where their shoes had been. And for me, that's not exactly a nice thought. No offense to anybody that actually does this, it's just that in my opinion, I don't think this is a very clean practice. I mean, unless you're somebody who really scrubs the carpets and really cleans them thoroughly on a regular basis, then I just don't see carpets as being something very clean. I think it can also trap dust, and then the result is you have eyes that look like mine. Allergies. In my apartment in Italy, we use marble and parquet floors. These are much easier to clean and cooler in the summertime. Moving along, this next one is something that I really miss from here in the United States, and this is a clothing dryer. Now you can find them here in Italy. You can find them there in Italy. I have seen them for sale, but I don't see them very often, and I think it's because a lot of people don't have the room for them. We don't. Dryers, however, in Italy are not necessary all year round, and the reason why is because most Italians, in fact, the majority of Italians, use clothing racks to dry their clothing. I mean, it makes perfect sense. It's free. Most months out of the year in Italy are warm, and so in essence, it's free drying. However, this is a problem in the winter months because the winter months in Italy are damp, cool, and sometimes very cold. And so when you hang your clothing outside to dry, sometimes it doesn't dry, it takes forever, and we just end up bringing the clothing back inside anyway. For this next one, let's go to the toilet. So between toilets here in the United States and toilets in Italy, I have noticed a very subtle difference. And I am not going to show any pictures because I think we all know what the inside of a toilet looks like. Anyway, quite simply, it's this. So here in America, the water is higher, and in Italy, it's the opposite. The water is much lower. Personally, I prefer the Italian method because I don't think the water should be that high. I think it's just a bit cleaner in Italy. I don't know. Here's something that you might not be aware of. When you go to a toilet in Italy, very often the flusher is on the wall, and there are two buttons. One is a long flush, one is a short flush. Depends what you did. Personally, I think that's a point in Italy's favor because with this method, you save water. As long as we're in the bathroom, let's talk about a topic that's been done numerous times here on YouTube, and I'll talk briefly about it. The bidet. The bottom line is this. Your average American doesn't know about them, or if they do know about them, they just don't prefer to use them. It's just not part of our culture here. I think this is something that you can find in both countries, but from my experience, 30 years here, 12 years there, I think they're a bit more prevalent in Italy. They really are essential to Italian life, and they serve many purposes. As I mentioned before, you hang your clothing out to dry there, but also you can have a meal there, you can chat with your neighbors, and very often it's used for neighborhood security. Americans, however, tend to use porches more, and I think porches are a bit more prevalent in the southern states, if I'm not mistaken. My parents have one, but they seldom use it. I can't speak for the whole country, so if you're American and you're watching this, leave me a comment below. Do you have a porch, and what do you use it for? Andiamo avanti. Wow, it feels so wonderful. Central air. You can find central air in Italy, but it is far from the norm. That's the opposite here in the United States. Even with that said, I don't think all American homes have central air. My parents do, and it's really wonderful. You know, you set the temperature and it stays that way all year round, in the cold months and in the hot months. So how do I keep cool and how do I keep warm in Italy? Well, it's actually not that difficult. In the summertime, we have a wall unit, and that's our air conditioner, and it works pretty well, actually. And in the wintertime, we have wall radiators situated throughout the apartment, and they work rather well, I must say. Short story. So the first time my wife came to the United States was during this time period. It was about 3 or 4 years ago, and she came during the coldest weeks of the year. As I remember correctly, it was minus 2 degrees Fahrenheit, which is minus 18 degrees Celsius. Ugh. So we slept here in this bedroom, and I remember one morning I said, oh, it's about minus 2 degrees Fahrenheit outside. Didn't feel a thing. We were toasty warm here, and it was just a wonderful feeling. Let's just say that I've seen it more here in the United States than Italy, and my interpretation of open space planning is this. In essence, your main living area has no separation. So your kitchen, your dining room, living room, and maybe another room, they're all connected. There's no walls separating them. My parents do have it here in this house, and in my opinion, it is acceptable, but I have seen plenty of houses here in the United States where it's just a really, really big space with no separations. I mean, to each their own, really, but I like a little bit of separation between certain rooms. I look at it this way: if you've got a problem with somebody, then it's really hard to get away from them. This is my parents' basement, and I think that one characteristic of the single-family American home in the United States is a gigantic basement. Somehow, I don't think the basements in Italy are quite this large. Now, at this point, you might be asking yourself, where do the Italians keep all their extra things that won't fit in their house? On that note, if you're Italian and you're watching this, let me know in the comments, where do you keep all your extra things? Well, here's what I've seen. I've seen a lot of Italians use garage space to put their things in there. In other words, they don't put their car in there, they use that as storage space. Also, I have seen apartment buildings in Italy where they do give you a separate place to put your things. Maybe it's below the ground, maybe it's in a separate area of the apartment building. But the key word here is big. America, big. And with that said, I just don't think that you will easily find a basement as big as this one in Italy. Well, that's my dad's old 8-track player. As I was filming this video, my dad said that this is actually something that was brought over from Italy. I didn't think we had any more objects that came from Italy. I mean, this thing is literally over about 100 years old. This was his grandmother's pasta strainer. I could spend hours or even days down here. This would be a great YouTube studio. No. Now I haven't lost it. I was looking at our neighbors' houses. I see 3 houses, and on each one of these, I don't see any bars on the windows. Bars on windows? Yeah, in Italy, this is something that you see a bit more common than here, at least from my experiences. But quite honestly, a lot of Italians fear break-ins, and so if they live on the ground floor, or the first, or even the second floor, it is common to see bars on windows, and yeah, it just makes you feel a bit safer. On the subject of windows, there is something that is catching on in Italy, fortunately, but I grew up with it, and these are fly screens on windows. I repeat, it is slowly catching on in Italy, and the reason why I say that is because I still don't think you find fly screens on the majority of Italian windows. That's a shame, really. I love them. You know, they're great because if you need to open the windows and if you need to let some air in the house, it's great for that. And while you do that, you're not letting any insects in. With that said, something that I tend to see a bit more here in America are home security systems. In fact, my parents had one installed about, I don't know how many years ago, recently though, because the house next to us got broken into. And we kind of freaked out. You know, this is a small town, but yet I guess somebody targeted the house next door. And so after that, we decided to get a home security system. This concept has, in fact, caught on in Italy. I don't know how well they work, but my suspicion is that the response time is probably faster here in the United States. I simply have to have this in the next house we go to live in Rome, and this is a big American fridge. In our current place, we have a little Euro mini fridge, and I say mini because I think it's mini for US standards, but it's really gotten my nerves because we're always fighting for space. With that said, to hell with aesthetic value. I want something that's big and practical. And where do we find the refrigerator? In the kitchen. From my experience, I think most kitchens in the United States are bigger than the ones in Italy, like most things in this country. Now, since there are a number of Italians that watch this channel, sapete chi siete, grazie, I'd like to know something. How big is your kitchen? Do you think it's normal? Do you think it's smaller? Or do you think it's bigger than most Italian standards? Fatemi sapere, quanto è grande la vostra cucina? This next one came as somewhat of a culture shock when I first moved to Italy, and this was no reclining chairs. Actually, no, the first time I mentioned reclining chairs to an Italian friend, they said, no, those are for old people. I thought, what are you talking about? Everybody uses them here. They're great. I like how you just sit in them, you lean back, and you can put your feet up, and it's like a chair that hugs you. Moving along, let's talk about something that we have in the United States, which I have not seen in Italy, and these are walk-in closets. So, looking at my closet over there, in all honesty, it really does take up as much space as an Italian wardrobe, really. The only difference is that is fully embedded in the wall. The one in my parents' room, however, is much bigger, and in essence, that could be a small bedroom. The next one is something that my wife noticed the first time she came here, and I never gave much thought until she mentioned it. She noticed how a lot of Americans' lawns are not fenced off, and she asked me why. And I said, I'm not sure, to be honest. I, of course, can't speak for the rest of the country, and I'm only talking about my experiences here in New England. And with that said, I mean, you can find plenty of houses here that are fenced off, but she's right, though. I think the majority of them are not. In Italy, however, it is a bit different. If you do happen to have a little bit of land, be it a lawn, a garden, then usually it is fenced off. There is something that I've just noticed, and I wanted to add it into this video. And I never quite realized this until recently, and these are tissue boxes. I really have never seen these in Italy. So why don't the Italians use them? How do they blow their nose? Italians blow their nose in two different ways. They usually use these. They either have them on them or they're within arm's reach. Or they use toilet paper. Well, think about it. You know, if it's good enough for your nose. To me, it makes perfect sense. So for this basic expression, let's use one that exists in English and also in Italian. In English, we have the expression, make yourself at home. They got that too in Italian. And the way to say that is, fai come se fossi a casa tua. When in Italy, make yourself at home, but don't exaggerate. If there are some other differences that I have not mentioned in today's video, leave me a comment below. Or if there are some similarities between American and Italian houses, I'd like to hear them. If you'd like to see more videos like this in the future, do make sure you subscribe. And also, if you want to see more videos where I compare US and Italian things, then click on the playlist that you're seeing on the screen right now. Thank you very much for putting up with my voice today. Sorry. Anyway, Happy New Year. Thank you for watching today's video. I appreciate your time, and I will see you the next time. Ciao. I gotta admit, the first time I saw this word, I thought it was a swear word in Italian.